be protected, because the way this law is written, it means you don't necessarily have a right to legal representation. We cannot forget that the 109th Congress, which was controlled by the Republicans, they authorized, and so did Democrats also, authorized the Military Commissions Act of 2006, which all but ended habeas corpus in America that was around even before America was formed. But when you take the Patriot Act, Military Commissions Act 2006, and now this act/law, and you combine them all, it means that if you are accused of a crime or having sympathies for anybody from the so-called rogue states, it doesn't mean that you have those sympathies, doesn't mean you're bad or anything, but if you are accused of a crime, you can literally be made to disappear. Now, I know that sounds like an accusation, but you don't have to believe anything I say. I'm not asking you to believe what I'm saying here. I'm asking you to research it. But you answer me a question, ladies and gentlemen of America. How does it feel to know every time you make a phone call, write an email, or even possibly send a letter, depending on what you say in it or on the phone, could raise a flag and get you investigated? How does that feel? Does it feel like you're in America, or does it feel like you're in a police state? Now, there is a risk for me to do this, but another risk is if a person is paranoid and they're hearing this, they could be very much worried, even more. And I'm not trying to frighten people into being terrified or paranoid, but this is a very real thing, and it needs to be said. When you have 41 Democrats in the House of Representatives okaying this, and you have 14 in the Senate okaying this, you have to wonder, what was their motivation? Now, there's a way you can find that out. You know how you can do it? You can contact those senators and House of Representatives and ask them why they voted. Now, some of them may tell you, well, it's the patriotic thing to do. No, it isn't. Look, I'm saving the reason why it isn't patriotic. I'm saving that. Somebody from Spain and England have watched the previous show, actually for the end of the show. But I will say this. Many of these new laws now passed, bills that were passed and made law by both Democratic-controlled Congress and Republicans. Many of these laws have taken away the very fundamental rights of the American people. They have taken away the foundation of this nation, and they are changing the way America is. That is frightening. You may not see it as frightening, but it is. When I can be accused of a crime or spied on, there's another aspect of that that's bad. What about the investigations that occur and the person is found innocent? What about the taxpayers' money, your money, used to investigate the innocent? And on a more security-minded note, what happens if they're investigating somebody because they called up Russia, because they have family in Russia or Peru or Afghanistan? They have family members there, so they called them up. What if it raises a red flag? They're investigated, and while they're investigating the innocent person, the person who does have ill will against our nation gets away. What happens then? I mean, this is a scenario that sounds incredible even for me to come out and say. I know you think I'm full of hot air, but I'm not. I didn't pass Senate Bill 1927. I didn't sign it into law. Our government did. And while they're investigating you or my friends or people who have relatives overseas, the bad guys and the bad girls could successfully get over here. But you might be wondering, well, what if we don't investigate and spy on our fellow Americans, how are we going to protect ourselves? Well, there's a little thing called probable cause and legal searches and seizures. Now, we have had habeas corpus, and we've had this system in place for 231 years. It worked all those years. But to get more personal, I'm hoping that I'll get some calls. I hope somebody's watching. Hey, that's all right. If you're not watching, that's all right. But call up. Don't be afraid. 412-231-2288. 412-231. I can't see it. I think it's 412-231-2288. My eyesight ain't too good. Hey, forget about it. But when I think about this, and it gets me mad, you know who I think about most? Our veterans of World War II. Your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, they fought a guy named Adolf Hitler. Now, Adolf Hitler had some of these wonderful policies that we now have adopted. He had them in place. He had Germans spying on Germans. He had people who were informing on their neighbors and their own family members. And he had similar policies in place. So if you think I'm saying that some of these laws are fascistic or fascist, yeah, I'm saying that. If you think I'm saying it's time to wake up and be afraid, but to change it, I'm saying that. Because look, I went on a bus here a couple of months ago. On the bus, it said, if you see something suspicious, report it. Now, I don't have a big problem with if you see something suspicious, report it. But then I've seen in the past literature saying, if you suspect your neighbors of something, report it. So we're being asked to do what people did in Germany. Now, if you remember, we also had a Holocaust in Germany. And Hitler was a dictator. We said we wanted to fight that. How come we ain't fighting our own mistakes? Carl, can you please say your name?
Hello?
How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing fine. My name's Ben. How are you doing?
Well, I would be doing better if we didn't have S1927, but I'm doing all right.
Well, you know, everyone's getting their own emotions mixed up in what's going on. I mean, there's the obligation you have personally, you know, for your country. And then
Can we go to the next call, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it's live TV. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, but hey, you know, that happens. You know, well, we have some jokers, but you know, I'm going to comment on that caller, actually. It was rude. It was meant to distract. But you know, I'm actually fighting for the rights of that caller to do that. Yeah, maybe we want to kick him in the kazoons. But you know what? He has a right to do that. We keep having stuff like this. He won't have the right to do that. I won't have a right to be appearing on PCTV Channel 21 or the website www.pctv21.org. You see, if we keep going down this road that the Democrats and Republicans in Congress seem to be taking us in, well then all the great producers of PCTV Channel 1 won't have a place to do their shows. Whether we're good at what we do or we're terrible. We ought to have that right, guaranteed in the Constitution. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, okay? So yeah, I didn't particularly like what that caller did. He was rude. I apologize, audience, that you had to hear that. We don't have a way to edit that right now because it's live. Hopefully we'll edit that before we show it again. But the point is, our right to free speech guarantees that caller the right to be rude. And we need to keep that right. You know, I don't particularly care for the KKK and their hateful speech. They have a right to do it. It's not the speech that we like we need to protect. It's not the speech that we hate we need to protect. It is speech from everybody, whether we like it, we think it's ridiculous or not. Now, I'm hoping that somebody will call in with a legitimate comment. I have a couple of audience members here, and I don't know if they want to make comment or not. I won't put the camera on them unless they do want to make comment, so I'm going to turn to the left and see if anybody wants to. If not, I'm just going to keep talking. I don't want to talk big. If you don't call me, you're going to hear this. The big mouth lips keep going. Do you have a comment? It looks like we have an audience member. If you could only get a tight shot on that particular audience member. Oh, geez. I didn't want to necessarily get all three, but that's all right. Make your comment.
Well, I do have a comment for that caller that was rude. If that caller hears hears my voice, I wish you would come and call now, because I would say that's not nice to talk to the host like that. Have respect for yourself and have respect for everyone else. And if you are home, that's not nice. But my question to the host up there, how long did you know about this thing is going on since 1927?
No. It hasn't been going on, hasn't been going on since 1927. It would never have gone on in 1927. It's Senate Bill 1927, and it was sent to and I think it was Saturday night, President Bush signed it into law. I knew about it very recently, and I think with the Military Act and with the existing Patriot Act and all that, that's dangerous for us. Caller, can you say your name and what you have on your mind?
Lynette, and I think that President Bush did what his father started, and that's to bring new world order and have control over all of our lives.